Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest, you know him very well, living legend of the sport, one of my favorite human beings, eight-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney. Welcome, Lee. How are you,
Hey,
sir?
Ron, it's an honor to be here, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. I'm always doing better when I'm talking to you, and I'm very, very honest and sincere when I say that. I could be in a bad, horrible, people are talking crap about me on YouTube, whatever. I can talk to Lee Haney. I'm like, it's not so bad. I'm talking to Lee Haney. Everything's okay. So we had a little chat yesterday, and everyone's talking about becoming healthier or trying to keep the athletes healthier because unfortunately we do have a lot of bodybuilders passing away. Everyone else is making videos talking about get your blood work, get your heart scans. But one aspect that you alluded to that I think is really relevant and not enough people are talking about is the mental health aspect, because that plays a huge role in a person's life, is their mental health, because your attitude, your thoughts, your emotions, all that controls the rest of you. So when did you first start to think about this recently, as far as something that needed to be addressed?
Well, Ron, I tell you, man, I've sort of watched the landscape of what's been happening in our sport. A year or so ago, about 2 years ago, we lost Luke Sandoe. Yeah. Beautiful young man, beautiful athlete. I had the honor of meeting him at the Olympia, I think, and again, it was year before last. And we talked for a while, and I gave him some positive props as far as his physique is concerned. And then to hear that he had passed and, committed suicide was just heart-wrenching, Yeah. I mean, a young man with so much to live for, a beautiful wife, a child, so what happening out there? So there's a lot of issues that we face, and a lot of times we face them on our own, and nobody knows what's happening. In the world of bodybuilding, man, those pictures always painted that we're these super people, and we don't, we can get over anything, and we're strong, we're physically beautiful on the outside, we can conquer all. Right. But what happens in the mind and what happens in the heart or in the spirit person can be totally different than what's seen on the outside. So I wanted to speak to that particular thing, because that's something that's never discussed, something that I really feel that our industry is missing. So I heard a couple of different times that this past Olympia, a couple of athletes talking about that they had these moments in which they broke down in tears while prepping for the show. And so I've had conversations with, I'm not going to call these people's names, because I want to keep what's happening with them private, but I want to open it up to the audience, the listeners, that this is not something that just happens to these particular people. It's happening a lot. And many times it's not being discussed or brought out in the open. But I want to just share my perspective on the importance of mental health and what I've done in my own life to keep it together. Because when you're talking about winning the Mr. Olympia, but let alone 8 Mr. Olympias, how do you keep it together here? I mean, when you're on the top, there's nowhere to go but down. Right. But if you're not able to control the mental stress of being an athlete and trying to overcome adversities, trying to get better, trying to pursue something that only one in a million or several billion gets to achieve, that's pressure in itself. So, I mean, man, if you don't put this type of deal in the right perspective, it can blow your head straight off of your body.
You said something to me recently. You said, you looked at bodybuilding as a job. It didn't define you. It wasn't who you were. It was something that you did, and you did very, very well, but it wasn't your whole world. You had other things. You had your family, you had community outreach projects, things you were doing. Do you think there are people in the sport that they get so wrapped up in the contest that they have to win and their prep that they're living in a bubble where there's nothing outside of bodybuilding? It can be all consuming, and anything that might go wrong, because things will always go wrong. You can't, you might pull a hamstring at 3 weeks out from a show. You might get you might get the flu at a month. You know, things happen, and the date might be moved. You know, a lot of things can happen. Things can happen in your personal life with your endorsement contracts, and it can all really throw people into a spin. And a lot of guys seem to have a lot more trouble dealing with it mentally, and go into depression and turn to other things to try to numb their pain or escape from it. You know, how did you keep it together? Because I'm sure you must have had a couple of little stumbling blocks along the way to winning 8 Olympia titles.
Oh, I did, Ron. And I'll just say, man, you know, one of the things that I really admire that Joe Weider said to me when I was first getting started, you know, and Joe was one of the first people that gave me balance and told me of the importance of balance, was my mother and father. I was blessed to have both a mother and a father. Mm-hmm. My mom would say to me as I'm growing up, son, you put God first in your life. Honor him with your life. It'll take you around the world. So always honor him. Don't worship things, money, or those other things that people do, which will throw you off balance. My dad would say, son, you know, you got to look at it this way. Each man put his pants on one leg at a time. And so you're in the same boat as any other man, but the determining factor is how hard are you going to work and discipline yourself? And whatever you set your mind to do, son, do your very best. That's all you have to do. Do your very best. And so with that type of upbringing, with that type of programming, it gave me a sense of balance from day one as a child growing up. And so when bodybuilding then started to come around for me, because it was all fun for me, it wasn't as intense. I would say the training was as intense, but it was fun. I just liked doing it. My parents got me a set of weights when I was 11 years old, man, and I love my weights. I love reading the magazines. I love fantasizing, all of those things when I was a kid. So when I finally got the chance to go from winning the Teenage America to the Junior Nationals, then to the NPC Nationals and IBB World Championship, I was asked to visit California by Mr. Joe Weider. And so Joe brought me out to California, and we're sitting in his office, and he said, Lee, I love to have the opportunity to put you under contract and have you to come out and train and live here in California. And I said, man, I mean, Joe Weider, that's a dream come true, you know. But one thing he said to me, he said, Lee, you know, as a young man, you got to have balance in your life. He said, you have to breathe. You have to enjoy the journey. Then he says to me, do you have a young lady that you're crazy about? I said, yes, I do. I said, matter of fact, yes, I do. I'm very crazy about her. And he said, well, look, it's important for a young man to have balance in his life. So if you're going to come to California, I strongly advise you to bring her with you. And Shirley was my girlfriend at the time. Yeah. So once I got that okay, I was getting ready to sign with Joe. I knew I was going to be able to support a wife, you know. Yeah. Then we set a time to get married, you know, and I wanted to make sure she was going to be there because, you know, that stability was everything to me. And, you know, prior to me and Shirley even getting married, we were high school sweethearts. She even paid my registration fee for the Teenage America.
Oh boy.
So she's always been my partner, you know, from day one. So having that balance and that stability and that, you know, her to cheer me on made a lot. Of course, I didn't worship her. I also made sure that my number one priority was in honoring God with my life and asking for his wisdom and his guidance. And he taught me and teaches us that we're not to worship things, not to worship positions. And with that type of mindset, man, it gave me a great foundation on how to look at things. So in becoming Mr. Olympia and going out, you know, and I've tried to lead this message and share those messages with athletes all over the world. They saw me as a Mr. Olympia, as a husband. And I looked at my job in bodybuilding was just that, a job. I go in, I work real hard, I do what I have to do, but when I come home, I'm a husband. And then the fact that I wanted kids, I never said, well, I got to sacrifice all that. I don't have time for that. No. That's the most important thing in your life, really. because God clearly says in his word, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. And then he says, the man who finds a wife finds a good thing. So I had my good thing, and me and my good thing multiplied, and we was blessed with two beautiful children while I competed as Mr. Olympia. So I never carry the burden of stress on me concerning, oh, I gotta win this and I gotta do that. I'm holding my breath. I've always tried to tell athletes, do not hold your breath. You have to breathe. You got to live. And man, I've lived every moment of it. I mean, I have no regrets. I feel great. You know, I've had people to ask Shirley, guys, it must be real hard being married to Lee Haney. I mean, all the stress. No. I wish I'd have married me. I treat Shirley so well. But no, she never had to deal with that. You know, people going crazy and freaking out and getting, no. I've never been that way. I've always had an attitude of prayer, attitude of thanksgiving, an attitude of, hey, this is my job. And this all that it is. I do good. I get a bonus. I get paid. When I come home, I'm there to enjoy my kids, enjoy my family, and be a dad and a husband.
Yeah. You had talked about there's a pro. We're not going to name him or anything like that, but he came to you looking for some support, some guidance, some kind of wisdom from you. Can you tell me, you know, without divulging anything about him personally, you know, what he was going through and how you were able to help him? Because it's probably, just hearing that, it's probably going to be able to help some people out there with what they're going through. Yes,
I will, Ron. And, you know, I was beautiful, this beautiful young man. Love this young man dearly. Just so happened, I had left my room that early that morning to go down to grab a cup of coffee and, you know, get a quick bite. And I ran into him, and this young man walked up to me and he started to share what was happening. And I said to him, so, okay, how are you? What's happening? And then he began to talk to me about some of the things that was going on in his life, his mental wise. And I knew exactly what was happening. He was internalizing his position in the sport, internalizing his placings. He was just internalizing so many things, thinking beyond and not living in the moment. See, when you don't live in the moment, you think beyond the moment, and you create these monsters inside of your head that's not even there, but you've created them for yourself. And so it was my advice to just calm down, ease up. This is only a job, period. You have to look at it that way. You have to live. You have to survive. And then at the end of the day, the person who progresses the most, not just from the physical standpoint, but from a business standpoint, is the one that understands how to market their personality. That's the name of the game. You look at Tom Plaster and say, Tom didn't win the Mr. Olympia, but I guarantee you, Tom banked more than anybody during his era in the sports of bodybuilding. He was the coolest cat in the world, you know. He knew how to carry himself, that charisma, all of that. He sold himself. And so you got to look at it, and I emphasize it as young man, look at it in that way. Don't internalize. You know, you just talk about all these forces messing around in his head. And so I said, well, listen, one of the things that I've used to get rid of forces in my head, which I don't allow them to get inside of my head, is I stand on the word of God. You know, the word of God is a powerful thing. You know, there's scriptures in Romans 8:28, 8:31. It said, as God is for you, nothing can be against you. And then it says also in that same passage that we're more than conquerors. So when you start to meditate and get into the word of God as to what it says, it gets inside of your spirit. So you walk with your head up and you walk with a confidence. Now that's where I get mine. You know, and this has helped me all of these years. So hey, I figure it's working. You know, yeah. I am where I am. Absolutely. You know, and so I know of these type of things. You know, Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I remember a time when I was in Italy backstage, and so it was some conversations going on. Well, Lee, you know, so-and-so was unhappy, you know, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. and, you know, it's telling me about some things where, you know, it might be some forces working against you and da-da-da. And I looked in the eye of this person and said, listen, don't worry about me. I said, because the Lord is my shepherd. I worry not about a man. I fear no man. I said, if a man wants to do harm to me, he got to answer to my heavenly Father. And I don't think he want to be dealing with him, you know? So I know who I am. And because of knowing who I am, I don't walk in the stresses that this world create or people create for themselves. So you gotta be careful with that. And after I talked to this young man, we talked for, had to be about an hour. I also prayed with him, and I've stayed in touch by sending him various scriptures to continue to build his spirit person on the inside. Because only when you develop that strong man on the inside will you be truly a Hercules on the outside. Most of the guys are Hercules on the outside, and we're a toddler on the inside. Yeah. We're wearing diapers on the inside. You got to get this inner man strengthened and strong. And that, that calls for meditating. For me, it's meditating on the word of God. It has brought me to where I am. And, you know, I'm not a perfect person, but I tell you what, I'm not afraid of anything. You know, never have walked in fear of anything. I have no reason to be, because I have a greater force in my life that I know that'll stand up for me, and so I can walk in humility and still feel good about who I am and where I'm going. But most of all, where God is taking me. Yeah. So having that is real important. And Ron, what I've done too, and I know of the hole that exists out there a lot, not only in the world of bodybuilding, in the world in its totality. In the IFS, our certification organization, when you go to our website, you'll see a link that says support ambassadors. Support ambassadors. One of them is Big Brad Hadding. Brad is a power lifter, strong man. Have another one, the Foreman's husband and wife team. They're there. I have my dear friend, and thank God that he's recovered from his illness, Carlos Rodriguez, Pastor Pump. He's another one of my support ambassadors that these athletes can go to at any time. They don't have to be a part of the certification program. Anybody can go there and hear what they have to say and pull wisdom from them to strengthen that inner person, because you're going to need it. It is not easy in this world. If you don't get the right perspective, it will tear you up, or it will cause you to tear yourself up.
Yeah. I mean, especially since this pandemic began, coming up on 2 years ago, depression has been on the rise. Suicide rates have been skyrocketing. Men in particular, men commit suicide at a rate something like 8 times more often than women do. And they don't seek help. They don't have the support network that a lot of women have with their friends and family, and they don't seek psychiatric help the way women do in general. And, you know, we've lost some bodybuilders. Luke Sandoe is a great example. You would never have known, unless you were a close friend of his, that man was depressed. You'd look at him and say, this guy's got the physique of a Hercules. He's on magazine covers. He's got a great supplement contract. He's winning contests. He must be the happiest man in the world, not a care in the world. And, you know, deep down, he was very, very troubled. He had a lot of pain inside. And ultimately, he chose to end his life rather than continue dealing with that every day inside his head. You know, how can we possibly stop this epidemic of depression and suicide? Because it's awful. It's terrible to think that, you know, people in the prime of their lives would decide to take their own life. It's unthinkable.
Yeah, it's crazy, Ron, but it happens more often than we think. You know, I made it my business, and all of us should. We're not here to mind our own business. You know, some people, no, you need to mind your own business. No, you don't. If someone is in a place of, and you can recognize and notice in conversation with someone, if you just say, how you doing? And don't do an empty how you doing. Mean how you doing. Man, are you okay? Are you all right? Listen, man, you got anything you need to discuss, call me. I'm more than happy to talk to you. We need to do that more often. You know, I love the way in female figure, bikini, physique, and bodybuilding, I love the way the ladies always get together and they support one another. I mean, it's like off the chain. These girls are hugging each other. Girl, are you okay? hey, I'm here for you. They do that. But guys have this thing that we have our chest stuck out. We don't want anybody to know that we have, that we need a Band-Aid, or we got a cut or a bruise that need to be attended to. I mean, all of us, particularly as men and women, we need accountability partners. You know, I got buddies that I can call on and say, hey, man, this is what's happening. They'll call me and say, Lee, man, you know, I'm thinking about this, man. What do you think? You know, how do you feel about that? I'm going through this particular challenge. You know, it's very important to do that. I spend a lot of time on the road sharing at men's ministries. And for those of you out there listening, if you get a chance, go, you can Google or YouTube Wingman, Lee Haney Wingman conference. That's one of the conferences I did not too long ago. So you can go there and check that out and hear what I got to say. I'm also going to put up on my site, leehaney.com. I'm going to get my web tech to do that. It's called A Man with a Plan. And that's going to be free to anybody who want to hear it. I'm going to have that place on the site. Probably I'm going to try to have it up by this upcoming week. So go to leehaney.com. You guys can hear it, because that's the other thing. And I feel the most important thing that my journey is about is sharing what I've lived with men, more men. I've been married 38 years to the same beautiful wife. I've raised 2 children who are doing great things in the world. I'm babysitting today. I got my little 11-month-old running around. I had 2 of them 3 days ago. So, man, I'm having a time of my life, you know? And when I say, when the Lord said, he said, you may have life and have it more abundantly. More abundantly. That means more life, big life. I've lived big life, and I'm still living big life. But it's not just for me to have big life. It's for those who are listening to what we have to say right now, Ron, to also have big life. And big life is not worshiping a title. It's not stressing about, what happens if I don't win? No. Put everything in perspective with balance, As you continue to build your career, let's think about, okay, how do I market the success? What do I want to do with it? That's the name of the game. You know, when I got into bodybuilding, I never will forget my dad said, okay, son, since you don't want to play football and stay in school on the scholarship to play ball, how are you going to make money in bodybuilding? I said, Dad, I'm not sure. And I didn't know. But thanks to one of my guidance counselors, in which I met with, I said, Mr. Lambert, sir, I want to get into bodybuilding, but I need my education. He said, well, Lee, I tell you what, if the last thing we do, we're going to make sure you get enough money to go to college and still move forward in bodybuilding. And he was able to help me do that. So it was somebody that helped me along the way. But at the same time, you still got to think about how can I develop an economy with all of those hard work and sacrifice. Bodybuilding is a business. You got to look at it as a business. Whether you're going to get into as a personal trainer, or have your own fitness center, or if you're going to get into physical therapy, chiropractic care, whatever, use your mind, your imagination as to how can I do this? Not say if I don't win first place, doesn't matter what place you win. You know, first place is always a great opportunity to market that, hey, I'm the best of the best. But hey, if a person 4th, 5th, or maybe 10th place is better at marketing and have a more creative mind to be a success with whatever position, with their physique or with their personality, then guess what? They're going to be on top. Yeah. They are going to make money and income with this hard work and sacrifice. So you got to look at it as your job, not as your God.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said a couple minutes ago. It comes down to asking for help. I think that's something men, from the time we're born, we're sort of discouraged to ask for help. We're sort of indoctrinated to believe that we should know everything. Like there's that old, you know, before we had GPS, people used to have maps, so we would ask for directions if we were lost. And the old joke was that, you know, the husband and wife would be lost, and the husband wouldn't want to pull over and ask for directions. He would just want to keep driving around until he randomly found wherever destination was supposed to be. But I think in general, men, we have this idea that we're supposed to know everything, and we're supposed to be self-sufficient, and we're not supposed to ask for help. We're supposed to be very independent and strong, and, you know, asking for help, especially emotional help. I think a lot of men see that as a sign of weakness, but, you know, if you're in a place where things are, you know, you're not seeing the good in life, and you just don't see things to live for, that's absolutely a situation where you need some kind of help, or else you're just going to keep going down, down, down.
That's exactly right, Ron. That's why it's so important for, like, having, as I was saying, having accountability partners, men that you can draw strength from, you know, having men's fellowship meetings, you know, all of that is extremely important. And see, one of the things that we've had to deal with, and we got to come out of that, and I'm starting to see that, you know, when we grew up, I mean, I knew my dad loved me, but he didn't ever grab me and hug me and kiss me. You know, he never did that, because back then you just don't do that.
Right.
You know, now me and Josh, we hug, we kiss each other, you know, on the jaw, we kiss each other. Yeah. And we tell each other, hey, I love you. You okay, son? Anything I can do? He says the same thing to me. You know, so we got to get beyond that old way of thinking, which has done a lot of harm to men today. And all of the stuff that you see on, you know, John Wayne and all this kind of stuff that we watch on TV. Well, a real man is just, well, a real man is a man that's got a heart. A real man is one that can cry. You know, there's nothing wrong with crying. You know, man, I this past weekend at Lee Haney Games, I was giving Robbie Robertson a Lifetime Achievement Award, and man, I almost broke down on stage because it meant so much to me that I was able to do that for him. You know, and so that was good. It was good for Robbie. It was good for me, you know, because, you know, he said nobody's ever did that for him before.
Wow.
You know, so that was medicine for him, and it was medicine for me. It was my honor. But we need to do more of that with one another. You know, hey man, how you doing? Is everything cool? Find somebody that you can share with, and it doesn't have to be in the bodybuilding world. Man, I just lost one of my friends. He was 93 years old. Wow. You know, beautiful young man, you know, athlete and so forth. But, you know, this little bitty frail, athletic guy, you know, looked totally different than I was, but I loved him, you know, Wild Bill, I call him. We met at the gym, you know, so, and I got other buddies at 87 years old. They're not bodybuilders or anything like that. There are people that I can talk to, that I can share with, that also will share with me. You gain great wisdom and you gain great counsel by being around people that, you know, that have lived a life, that have the fruits of their life that draws you. You know, you are what you eat in the company you keep. You got to make sure it's the right company that you're hanging on to. Yeah. You know, not the wrong company, but people that are going to speak into your life. Things are going to be good and fruitful, not negativity. Yeah. And it's going to tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not.
I guess the last aspect of mental health I'd like to discuss with you is, you know, every bodybuilder is going to have to eventually downsize, especially these guys now that are carrying so much muscle mass. We got guys competing between 270 and 300 pounds now. And, you know, when they retire, hopefully they're going to be a lot more reasonable with their eating and with whatever supplements they were using to hold that and get, you know, lighter and healthier. But, you know, how were you able to, you know, you didn't try to stay 260 pounds of muscle for your whole life, but how were you able to mentally deal with the fact that I'm not this giant freak? You know, I never use the word freak to describe you, of course. You had a beautiful aesthetic physique. You know,
well, I was a freak, Ron. What are you talking about?
Well, freak can be.
I was a freak of nature.
You were a freak. You were a genetic freak for sure. But I'm saying, how were you able to, you know, look at yourself in the mirror and just be comfortable with being healthier and athletic looking and not 255, 260 pounds without getting depressed? Because I know so many guys who mostly they didn't have a choice. It was a health problem that forced them to have to lose a lot of that muscle mass. They could no longer do the drugs or whatever that they were using, and a lot of them they stopped contact with all the people they knew in bodybuilding because they were like ashamed that, oh no, I'm not this big giant muscular monster anymore. You know, what can you say to these people to let them know that there is life beyond just this amount of muscle tissue and flesh we're carrying around on top of our bones?
Well, Ron, you hit it right on the nail in the statement you just made. There's life beyond. See, if you didn't find life during your reign of as a competitor, then it's gonna be hard to find it at the end. So that's why I've always said, listen, make sure you breathe and live as you go through those processes as an athlete. Don't wait till, at the end of the day and say, okay, now that's over. Now I'm going to start living. No, my advice is you live all the way through from start to finish. That's been my experience. And because of understanding the importance of living and enjoying life, the thing called pride is not something that I had to fight with a challenge. The Josh told me, he said, Dad, you're the incredible shrinking man, Wow. He started laughing and said, well, look, if I went to all those baseball and football games, it wouldn't be like that. But so I laugh about it, man. It's a humility that you have to have and have the understanding importance of it in order to not allow your pride to make you crazy. It's really about common sense. It's like, okay, if I'm 60 years old and I'm wearing 40 pounds more than my realistic weight, this recommended weight, and my heart is 30 to 40 years older, so is my kidney, my liver, my joints, that's not going to end well carrying that much weight. So it's really a matter of common sense. So I consciously, because of having done my blood work, staying on top of my labs, my heart health, all of that, I consciously brought my weight down because I'm an older person now. I want to make sure that longevity and good health, age management is the way, is my mission to manage my age. So you got to do the things that make sense and lay your pride to the side. And if not, you won't be here. I love the fact that I can enjoy where I am at the age of 62. I can run and jump with my grandkids. Me and Shirley go through the park. We're having a good time. We're playing basketball. We're doing all of those things. Because see, Ron, the mindset of the school of bodybuilding during my era, and the era that I learned from, was that of health and fitness. You look at Robbie, 75, looks great. Albert Becker's 90. Frank Zane, I think Frank is around 77.
Yeah.
All is 75. All of these legends, these guys are in their 70s and they're doing great. None of them died prematurely because of trying to do things that wasn't healthy, carrying too much weight. I'm doubtful that some of the guys now in the sport of bodybuilding, right now on this mass era, I doubt if they'll live to be 50 years old. I strongly doubt it.
I mean,
a Rottweiler never outlived a Chihuahua.
I mean, I had a Shih Tzu that was almost 19 when we put her down. So
that's right.
That's a Shih Tzu.
That's exactly right.
But yeah, I mean, I hope a lot of the men in the Open Olympia, I hope when they're done competing that they can move on the way you did, the way Dorian did. Dorian decided, that was my job. My job's over. I won 6 Olympias. I retired. My job was to be this 300-pound guy who competed around 260, 270, but I'm retired from my job, so I don't need to do that. And, he hikes, he rides bikes, he does yoga, he does all kinds of stuff. He's much, much smaller and he doesn't care. It doesn't bother him. But I worry that some of these guys will try to maintain all their size and it's not going to end well. I hope to goodness that a lot of them do wake up and say, yeah, I'm done competing. Why do I need to be 300 pounds and eat, 8,000 calories a day and take all these things? I don't need to do that anymore. It's not wise. Living is, I think everyone thinks they're going to be okay and live forever until that moment when they realize, I guess it's not true. I guess I'm not going to live forever. We're all going to die. That's an eventuality, but it's, how and when you can control that to a large extent based on your decisions and your choices, your lifestyle. So, yeah. Thank you for your wisdom, Lee. It's always enlightening. You are the voice of reason. We don't have a lot of voices of reason in this industry, and you're one of the few. So that's why I'm always happy when I reach out to you and you agree to do one of these, because like I said, they don't listen. They're not going to listen to me, and I'm not that wise, but you've got some years on me. You definitely got some wisdom on me. And I'm very grateful that you choose to impart it here with us on MD. Thank you so much, Lee.
Well, thanks, Ron. I appreciate all that you do. And hopefully what we've said today and discussed will have an impact on the life of some of these young athletes out here. Yeah. That's what it's all about. And
so guys, check Lee's website, leehaney.com. Probably by next week, probably around Thanksgiving or so. We'll have that new section there you can check out. And the ambassadors, you can find them on leehaney.com, or is it IAFS.com?
IAFS.com. IAFScertification.com.
IAFScertification.com. We'll put links to it. We'll put some links to it in the video description too.
Okay.
So
thanks, Ron.
All right. Well, thank you so much. 8-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney, everybody. We're glad to have him. Please subscribe to the channel. Put your notifications on so you know when we get videos. Like the videos, share the videos, do all that good stuff. We appreciate it so much. And Lee, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for this. And that's it. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Thanks, Ron.